Used to have one when I was younger. I love it. But now we are moving to not only nice cars, but fascinating cars with a lot of functionality. And the industry needs to be prepared for not just a few gigabit here or a few gigabit there, but to really move tons of information. We need to be prepared for the new cars. We have seen all these zone architectures, we concentrate all the traffic, we have traffic aggregation. People are talking of cameras with a gigabit, 12 gigabit per camera, talking about 8, 10 cameras, very big displays. We have seen this announced from BMW with this large display. You need to show without compression all the data. And for autonomous driving, you need radars, LiDARs. You need to move a lot of information inside of the car. You need data loggers. And this is not come easy. But if you jump into the optical communications, for sure, this job is much easier than if you stay in the copper world. And we need to really stop and say, okay, when are we going to jump into the optical? Are you going to jump now? Are you going to wait until it's too late? It takes years to have all the know-how required to put a product in the market. The sooner you start, the more prepared you will be for the revolution of the next fascinating cars. And this is all I have to say about copper, but I would like to give you some overview of how it looks like, the optical communications. The connectors that we have, they are very small, and you can, they are much smaller than what we used to have in most. They are very reliable. And we have two schemes. We can have the connector at the edge of the ECU, which is the typical approach. It can be used, for example, in cameras or in small ECUs where things is very compact. But we may also have the connector very close to the system on chip to make sure that all the EMC and the signal integrity problems are controlled. And here you can see a picture of one of our partners, Corning, who is developing such connectors. One fantastic message of the optical communications is that it's scalable. The same connectors and the same fibers will be used from 2.5 gigabit up to 100, 200 gigabit per second. You only need to qualify once the connector. You don't need to change the connector. You don't need to change the fiber. It will always be the same. And making harness and making new cars is straightforward. You just need to change the speed by programming the transceiver. It's really straightforward. Talking about low power, certainly optical, we don't need to do echo cancellation. So it significantly reduces the complexity of the files and significantly reduces the power consumption of the echo cancellation. The equalization is requires minimum. We have seen the insertion loss, very small, 4 or 5 taps, ridiculous. And of course, we don't need to implement any retransmission, any strange schemes that there are other vendors implementing. We are cost efficient right now. We are able to integrate all the needed parts in just one component, which is really a small silicon area, and we are very competitive with copper, and for sure, we are competitive in 1 gig, and in higher speeds, we will be cheaper for sure. Don't forget about the main benefit of going into optical also. You will forget about EMC. The components pass all the EMC regulations of the OEMs, and the fiber doesn't have any problems. So EMC comes for free. You have in this electrical cars environment where electrical noise is there, where the high voltage is reaching 800 volts, galvanic isolation becomes important to try to avoid any type of ground loops and any type of problems with a very high voltage. The solution that we are doing is fully standardized. We was standardized 1 gig. Now we are standardizing multi-gig from 2.5 up to 50 in IEEE. We are starting the process of preparing the next generation of 100 and 200 gigabit. And in parallel, we are standardizing both connectors, test methods, and fibers in ISO and IEEE. The first proof of concept is going to be by the end of this year. And we want to start production in 2025 of the multi-gigabit products. That's all. I think the message is clear. I really encourage people to come to our booth. Probably you have a lot of questions, a lot of comments. It will be a pleasure to go in detail into all the technical stuff. Thank you very much.